Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Conversations with Joshua T Berglan. Today we have an amazing guest. And when I say amazing, for me, this is like, well, for people that want to go into film, it's like meeting Spielberg, or for people that, I don't know, there's always someone that you can, like whatever it is that you're passionate about in life, you should have someone that you can look to and go, yeah, I want to do what they do, or I want to learn from them. I want to be better than them. I want to be great like them, whatever it may be. And I've shared over the years in all of my broadcasts, I've talked about different products I love. And, you know, I'm very, very geeked out by the process of taking an idea all the way to distribution, whether it's a film, TV show, an event, especially products. I've been passionate about products ever since I was stealing Juice Plus from my parents. And I've always been geeked out by the products, why they put certain ingredients together. So I'm very passionate about that. So I got to be real quick and give a shout out to our sponsor, GenoStem. This is a product that has absolutely changed my life. It's an organic peptide. The reason I have hair right now is because of what this product is doing, but it's not a hair growth product. It's not like that. It's like the on switch has been turned on in my body. And without it, like, I don't know how I'd be feeling the way I'm feeling. So I'm grateful for them. You can take advantage of getting 20% off by going into genostem.com and using the promo code MAYOR. Save 20%. There's a money back guarantee. There's no risk. There's no side effects. It's amazing. My partner, Jessica, just started taking it. And guess what? Our pets are taking it too. Not this exact one, but there's a pet version, because let me tell you, again, there's been all of our foods right now that are made, foods, products. You look at the other ingredients, and a lot of times these other ingredients are contradicting why you buy the product to begin with. It's a real problem. And so there's been an attack on our endocrine system. There's an attack on our mitochondria with all of these other ingredients and dyes and additives. So we've got to get healthy. And I really believe in this product. Again, you can take the Pepsi challenge. But anyway, without further ado, listen. For our guest, Mr. David Fradin, is, to me, one of the most important people on the planet to learn from right now. And let me tell you why. Because we're going into a new world. And in this new world, we will all be media organizations, independent media, not alternative media. Screw those guys. Not mainstream media. Really screw them. I'm not beholden to anybody, so I'm not here to kiss anyone's butt. But what I will say is the truth. And I really feel that our guest, what he teaches and his expertise is the missing piece for so many independent media organizations currently today and also in the future. And let me tell you why. His expertise in product development and knowledge and branding and packaging and everything else is the difference between your independent media organization being successful or not. That's a fact. What he teaches, what's in his courses, what's in his books, what's on his podcast is the difference between you struggling as an independent media organization and having huge smashing success. I'm stuttering. I'm so excited because for me, who has learned literally by trial and error, like every product I've ever created and distributed, I've been blessed to have a good team. I've been blessed to be surrounded by people that like really know what they're doing, like the head of Coty Cosmetics and other people. Like I've learned from the best. So when I tell you that David, the spice catalyst himself, is someone that you want to listen to and who you want to learn from, I mean it. He's the real deal. And for me, I am just honored to get to pick his brain. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. David Fradin to Conversations with Joshua T Berglan. David, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great.
Good. Thank you so much for being here. I'm excited. There's so much to unpack with you because, again, I'm kind of geeked out. To me, you're like the professor, like for people that want to maybe go to space, they'll look to Elon Musk or whatever. They want to launch satellites. They could look at Elon Musk. For people like me that get geeked out by products, everything from the idea to distribution to the design to the packaging, you're an expert in all of that. So it is an honor for me to have you here.
Thank you for putting up with me.
Fair enough. So what got you into this industry of products? You're well-rounded, like you're an expert in all areas of it. And I can tell you firsthand, trying to be an expert like that is really, really tough. But the proof is in the pudding with what you're teaching. But what got you into the industry to begin with?
Politics.
Really?
Yeah. I was at the University of Michigan, and in my freshman year, I started the Flying Club, which is still going today, 55 years later, and has trained over 4,000 pilots worldwide, including many captains on many airlines. Those pilots learned how to fly through my Flying Club. So my sophomore year, my aerospace engineering professor, Wilbur Nelson, who wrote the book on propellers, came to me and said, "Hey, I noticed you know how to manage and organize. Would you like to put together a national student organization in support of an American supersonic transport? And we could call it FAST, Friends Fly America's SST." So not knowing what I was getting into, I said, sure. A year later, I had testified before Congress. I had gone to meetings at the White House in my pink polyester suit, leisure suit, and I had 45 chapters on campuses around the country. I was raising about $120,000 a year, which today would be about $1 million or so, from aerospace companies and other companies. Started a aerospace youth council to advise NASA, lobbied Congress for the space shuttle, and those kinds of things. And at the same time, I was trying to get my aerospace engineering degree, and I took a class in thermodynamics, studying the fluid flow around a cylinder or around a sphere. And I got a D in it, and was told that I'd have to go another half a year in college. And 4 years was too much for me, but do 4.5. And at that time, Cy Ramo, who was the president of and founder of TRW, he's the R in the TRW, convinced the National Science Foundation that we need more technically trained managers. So Michigan Engineering School set up a curriculum for independent study called interdisciplinary engineering. So I was able to drop or switch majors, especially since the Vietnam War was winding down and the space program was winding down. And there were 150,000 unemployed aerospace engineers that knew how to do fluid flow around a cylinder better than I could. So, and I also noticed that the engineers at the big aerospace companies all sat in a big room together with 4 battleship desks, gray desks for World War II, all pointing at each other and sharing one telephone, while the executives, the managers, they had the private offices, the quarters with the nice views outside. So at that point, I switched into interdisciplinary engineering, and I was able to take courses in politics, and economics, and business management, and public speaking, and journalism, and so forth. And that's what I graduated from Michigan in. So I went on from there to run several nonprofit organizations and associations, moved my FAST organization to Washington, D.C. to lobby Congress for the space shuttle and for energy independence. And then I was recruited to go to Minnesota to run the Environmental Balance Association of Minnesota, and became an environmental mediator. I successfully mediated the second successful mediation that ever happened in the United States at the time, and I was able to resolve one of the largest environmental disputes over the Reserve Mining Company, which was dumping hundreds of thousands of tons of taconite tailings into Lake Superior, polluting the lake, because the little tailings would float on the surface, so it looked like green algae across the entire lake. And that had been litigated for 7 years, and I helped get that resolved. And then I ran Al Quee's gubernatorial campaign and won that, But since my organization was labor, business, and agriculture funded, the AFL-CIO didn't like that since I helped get this independent Republican elected. And so I lost my job over politics. And then John Conley called and asked me to run his presidential campaign for the state, which I did. And then Hewlett Packard recruited me after that was over with to come to California, where I've been since 1980, to help the company site new facilities in around the United States, which were being opposed by local communities, even though HP had some of the most environmentally acceptable and desirable developments. While in the corporate PR department, I have always had word processing in all of my organizations. They were still using secretaries and electric typewriters. And it was the only department in the company that knew how to type. And I had heard about a software program called Slate, which is a word processor that runs on an HP 3000 mini computer. And I introduced the Slate program to the department, which was essentially what a product manager does, but from an internal product manager. As a result of that, I was able to transition to product management at HP in a different division and move to Cupertino, where those offices were, and got trained classically as a product manager from HP. As a result of being a classically trained product manager at HP, which is where product management started, Apple recruited me to bring the first hard disk drive to market on a PC. And it was a fabulous product. It was really cheap. It was only $3,600 and had a lot of space. It was 5 megabytes in size. And no one could understand why we'd ever need 5 megabytes. So that was quite an uphill struggle of trying to bring such a product to market and convince people that they should buy this hard drive. So that was in the peripherals division of the company, and they noticed in the personal computer systems division, where the Apple II, the Apple III is at that time. The Mac had not yet been introduced. That was 4 years later. They recruited me to become the group product manager for the Apple III product line, which was one of the 2 profit centers for the company. So after about 3 weeks on that job, the executive committee went off to Bahara Dunes, and the product line was canceled. And then I was coming out of the corporate offices, not having anything to do since my product line was canceled. And it was producing about $600 million a year in profit at the time. And John Scully, who was president at the time, called me into his office, along with several other people, and asked me, since they canceled the product line, they just found that they have $20 million worth of piece parts spread across manufacturing facilities in Ireland and Dallas and in Singapore. And he says, what should we do about it? And those today's numbers, that's like $400 million, which was sizable at the time because the company was only about $2 billion. So that would have been a massive loss. So I said to him, he says, well, what should we do about it, Dave? And I said, what do you mean, we, paleface? And he didn't know the joke. So I had to explain it to him. Back in the 50s, there was a famous television show called, I forget the name of it, but it starred the Lone Ranger, who galloped around with one silver bullet, wore a mask, and he had an Indian sidekick named Tonto. Now, when I tell this story to people from India, I have to say American Indian sidekick.
Yeah.
And they're galloping through the desert, and they get surrounded by 10,000 yelling, screaming American Indians. And the Lone Ranger turns to Tonto, who is an American Indian, and says, what should we do, Tonto? And Tonto says, what do you mean, we, paleface? So Scully asked me, what should we do? And I said, if you give me the authority commensurate with the responsibility for the product line, because under the HP model of product management, which was borrowed from Procter & Gamble's model of a brand manager, budgeting authority and paying for the PR and the advertising and the marketing was taken away from the product manager and given to other departments in the company. So it was a constant struggle for the product manager to get the things that they need to get in order to have the product to be successful. And that's where my mediation skills came in very helpful at HP and Apple. So that I said, if you give me the authority commensurate with the responsibility, I can get the job done and sell off the remaining 25,000 Apple IIIs and liquidate all those piece parts and create a profit for the company. Profit, by the way, I found out later, was used to pay for the Macintosh development.
Wow.
And so I told him the story of soul of a new machine from Alpha General or Alpha something or other, which was trying to develop another mini computer, but it was opposed in the corporate offices by the people that had the existing mini computer. I told him the story of the IBM PC, where they kept trying to build the PC in Schenectady, New York, where IBM's headquarters were, but kept getting killed by the sales force because they were afraid it would cannibalize the IBM mainframe market and their commission checks would go down. So the company moved the PC development team to Boca Raton, Florida, to get as far away from Schenectady as they possibly could, but stay in the same time zone. And IBM was able to then copy the success of the Apple II by building a computer with slots, which enabled it to be customized. And then I told him the story of my friend Kelly Johnson at the Skunk Works, Lockheed's Skunk Works, where Kelly and his team came out with the XR-71, the X-1, and other very advanced aircraft in about 18 months, while in the bureaucracy of Lockheed, it would take 7 years to come out with the same plane. And Kelly, had free reign. He had his own machine shop. He had his own manufacturing facility. He had his own wind tunnel. He had his own manufacturing people and so forth, his own test pilots. So Scully said, okay, make me a proposal. And I gathered about 80 people in the company to contribute information on it. And myself and a core group of 7 other people pulled together an 80-page business plan. And then we presented it with options to the company's executive committee on July 15th, 1983. That's a day that will live in my mind in infamy. And at the culmination of the meeting, after I presented all the options, and also Maxine Graham, who helped me with the business plan and was on Apple's values committee previously, she said, in addition to doing the MBA stuff of comparing the options on the bottom line of a P&L and a balance sheet, you should also compare those options against Apple's values. And Apple's values at the time, and it continues today, is things like good management, empathy for the customer, doing the right thing, that kind of stuff. It has nothing to do with profits. It's a set of values that if the company felt if they followed, the profits would follow. So Floyd Kwame, who was then the executive vice president of sales and marketing, he went on to become a very successful venture capitalist at Kleiner Perkins, and also a technology consultant to President George Bush. He asked me, okay, if we pick this first option, that is shut the product line down, or the second option that you've recommended is let the product line continue as long as people buy the product and the product is profitable. And a dealer calls you, what would you say? I said, if you decide to let the market decide, which is one of my principles of a successful marketing, no marketing people, no matter how many MBAs they might have, know exactly what the market wants and what the market will do and how the market will perform. So if you pick that option, I'll tell the dealer, we'll continue to develop the product, market the product, sell the product, support and service it, so long as you continue to sell it and people continue to buy it. But Floyd, if the executive committee picks the first option, and that is shut the product line down right now, which everyone knew there was a big fight going on inside Apple over the Apple III, because Steve Jobs, who was the first product manager on the Apple III, wanted to kill his baby, and he was the one behind all the rumors and everything and the executive committee's decision. So I said, if you pick that first option, which is contrary, I didn't have to say this, but he knew the first option would be contrary to Apple values. I said, if you pick the first option, I'll give the dealer your phone number and you can explain it to him. And the executive committee cracked up. They thought that was funny, but very poignant. And unbeknownst to me, a lady was sitting in the back of the room. Her name was Ann Bowers. She was married to Bob Noyce. She was the VP of HR for not only Apple, but also at the time for Intel, her husband's company. And she, I suspect, was instrumental in helping get Apple to come up with a set of values to model Intel's values and to model the HP way, which was one of the reasons that HP grew 20% a year every year for 50 years, because they followed a set of values called the HP way. So about a week later, they called me up, Ken Zerbe, who is the executive vice president for HR. And he said, I understand you know a little bit about the Apple III. We'd like you to run an independent business group. And we'll make you independent. You have full authority and responsibility for the product line. You can hire 17 people. We'll give you a $4 million budget. You can sign for anything you want up to $200,000 and go to town. So we did. And over the next 11 months, we sold 25,000 Apple IIIs for about $600 million in profit, enough to keep about 1,000 to 1,500 highly paid Apple employees employed. And then I made the final decision to shut the product line down after we'd sold out the inventory. And about 6 months later, Steve Jobs lost his job as the head of the Macintosh and Lisa group, because Mac sales had dropped to 4 units in January 1985, and about 1,000 to 1,500 Apple employees lost their jobs. And they had given me a buyout, so I'd already left the company. So that's how I got into product and product management. At the Apple III, in addition to the main CPU, we had 500 software programs and peripherals, from floppy drives to hard disk drives to networking and so forth.
Did you ever think in that process that you were being trained and equipped for something even bigger?
No, I had no idea.
I mean, because you're, to me, again, I said this at the beginning, like you're the missing piece, like that knowledge. Because look, anyone can go out and create a podcast or a live stream. It's easy. It's so easy. Monetizing it is a whole other experiment. And I say experiment because there's a lot of different things you can do to monetize, but it doesn't mean it's right for you. But yet, one thing that anyone can do or should do that's a part of what they're creating is the merchandise side of things, the products that complement the services they're providing, and or whether it's, again, a supplement, whether it's a t-shirt, whether it's a hat, whether it's a water bottle, a phone cover, or if it's a service, whatever it may be, like your expertise and your knowledge plays right into that, because you may be entertaining on your podcast, you may be entertaining on your TV show, but how are you going to monetize it? And without those skills and without the knowledge, that's very, very important, because it's not like you can just go out and slap a label on something and put some ingredients together and go, there you go, you have a successful product. Like, it doesn't work that way. So these fundamentals that you're teaching and the value that you're giving through your website, your media platform, is exceptional. You have so many courses, so many books, like you have all of this expertise. What other challenges for you, because you've mastered so much, what other challenges are you looking to take on, or is your purpose now changed a little bit to focus more on the education and bringing the next generation up?
Well, my focus is to help companies and organizations have successful products and services. 2014, the last time I looked, McKinsey had done a study and found that the world spent about $1.4 trillion on new product development. And a couple of North Carolina professors at the University of North Carolina did a study and found that about 35% of them fail, which represents a loss of about $500 million a year. that if we could reduce that failure rate, there would be more resources available to pay people better, and also to pay to combat global climate change. So that's what I've done, and the name SPICE, and my company's name SPICE Catalyst, is actually a mnemonic for the 5 keys for product success. The S stands for you must have a product market strategy. P stands for your product development needs to be a repeatable process, so it has a higher degree of probability of success if it's a repeatable process. The I stands for product management, and management has to have the information they need to make the right decisions about the product or service. The C means really understanding your customer. And I do it not from market research, but from understanding what it is that your customer wants to do. If you ask your customer, what do you want? That means they have to understand what their problem is, and also have to understand what a potential solution is. An example of why that doesn't work is allegedly Henry Ford, when he was thinking about doing a mass-produced cheap automobile, went out and asked people if they would like a car or an automobile, and never having seen one or have any idea what it is, they all said no. So if that's the case, then why do we have these traffic jams in these parking lots? What he should have done is sat on the stoop of a bar in Dearborn, Michigan, not far from where I grew up, and noticed people were whipping their horses to get across town as faster as they can. The thing that they really wanted was a faster horse. So the question he should have asked, would you like a way to get from point A to point B faster? And then the answer is going to be yes. So now you've defined the problem in terms of what it is that the customer wants to do. Why do they want to do it? When do they want to do it? Where do they want to do it? How they want to do it? What's standing in their way from doing that? And how important is it to get that thing done? And with that information in mind, you can then identify a market that is sizable enough to go after with your product, or your service, which provides a solution to what it is that people and or companies wish to do. So that's what the C stands for, and that's the first part of the product market strategy, which comes from the S in SPICE. And the last thing is E, your employees, and that means that you need about 130 skill sets or competencies in an organization in order to have a successful product or service. And most organizations don't have that. So some of them turn to outside consultants to help fill in those blanks. And they must have a training program that's ongoing to train their people in those 130 skill sets or competencies, which will then increase the probability of product success and reduce waste.
Quick question. This randomly came to me. What's more important, marketing or packaging?
Well, packaging is a subset of marketing. Some products don't have any packaging,
True.
or lesser packaging than there used to be. We used to design boxes that would sit on the shelves in the computer stores. We don't do that anymore. The packaging is a subset of first product positioning, which is part of your product market strategy, and then it conveys the brand, the promise of the product clearly. So the packaging is a implementation of the product positioning.
That's so well said. When I first got into putting products together, I had a skincare line. I didn't develop it, but I had the global distribution rights for it. But after that, I got into working with the OEMs, and that's how I got into contract manufacturing. So working from idea to distribution phase. And one of the things that I saw that was really alarming to me, and also a problem that I saw, is that some of these smaller companies would create a revolutionary product, like the synergy of the ingredients, the purity, everything about it was amazing. But they spent all their money on research and development, and there was nothing left for marketing, or nothing even left for proper packaging. So they had the product look like garbage on the outside, but the truth was it was gold. And but our minds, and I'd like for you to speak on this, we get obsessed with the quality way an apple looks like, and it may not be organic, but damn, it sure looks pretty. And then you have packaging or products that have all the money has been spent into the development of it, but nothing left over for marketing. So what happens is the consumer, and I think it's starting to change, but the consumer starts buying all of these products with fancy marketing and fancy packaging, but getting really lousy results. What do you see as a solution to that problem?
Well, first, we have to get over this mindset that a lot of science, engineering, medical professionals lead towards, and that is if they build a better mousetrap, the world will be the path to its door. Well, that's not true. It never has been true. If you build a product that does what a customer wants to do, and you effectively communicate that brand to the customer, then you'll have a successful product and or a successful service.
Wow, I really love that answer. That makes a lot of sense. So going into this new world where we have access to technology unlike ever before, and also we have access to information like ever before. So as somebody that is looking to launch a product, what are some of the challenges that you see that are happening currently versus 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago?
Well, the whole advent of social media, advertising executive 30, 40 years ago said, I know I'm wasting 50% of my advertising money, except I don't know which 50%. Now, with the ability to highly target your messaging to very specific people, is very valuable in terms of getting your marketing accomplished. So useful and successful that the Russians back in the 2016 election was able to do target marketing through social media. The Internet Research Group that Prigozhin ran out of St. Petersburg, Russia, had a couple hundred people that were doing this highly targeted marketing of creating turmoil and distrust in U.S. media and promoting Donald Trump to be elected as president. And they had already tried this out, and it worked in Africa and in the UK.
Well, it's called Operation Trust too, right?
Yeah. And so in 2014, a general of the Russian army issued a paper and gave a speech on that they have been able to weaponize social media. And that's what they were able to do. And clever marketeers can do the same thing with social media today.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you something. I brought this up, and that could take us in a whole other direction that I would love to talk about on a separate broadcast, because that's really I know where you're going with that, and it's great. But what I'm curious about, because you brought this up, is that now because of data, we can literally find our customers with just a few words. Like we can literally find them all over the world. Anytime you do a paid ad, like you can be so specific now, it's amazing. But what's happened that I've noticed is with the content creation that happens, let's just take product marketing out of it. Even content creation, even that is now niched down to death, where and what it's happened for me, it's the death of creativity, being a niche person, because everyone that you see that has the huge followings on social media, they talk about the same crap over and over and over again. And that's what the algorithms are supporting. That's what the search engine results are supporting, is that. I believe that is about to change. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're a much greater expert than I am on this, But because of AI, I believe this niche system that we have is no longer going to be rewarded. I think original thought is going to be rewarded, original ideas, people that are showing more varieties of themselves or varieties of their product and varieties of ways that it can support. I believe that will be necessary because I think the search engines are about to change the way they operate because, again, of AI. I think that it's going to disrupt it. Can you speak to that at all? Call me crazy. That's okay.
I hope you're right.
Me too.
But the basis for the AI and prior to that, the search engines and the algorithms has been two principles. One is wisdom of the crowds and clickbait. And they use wisdom of the crowds to get the clickbait. So the most outrageous things get the most views and most clicks and generate the most money. And in fact, that's what fueled Breitbart News.
Yeah.
Clickbait, and major corporations of great reputations were running ads on Breitbart, and they didn't even know it. So I give you an example of the problem with wisdom of the crowds, which, by the way, came out of the computer science department at Stanford and gave the basis for the founding of Google later in the 1990s. And I say, well, if the crowd is so smart, how come a crowd goes into a bar, a fire breaks out, and everybody tries to get out the same door that they came in? The crowd is so smart. Why don't a few of them at least go behind the stage and out the stage door?
That's a fair question.
They don't do that. The crowd as a group, and this is the basis for Amazon's. If you like this, you'll like this because others like this. You'll buy this because others buy this. It's the basis of the recommendation engine on Netflix and so forth. So I don't, AI, and especially generative AI, amalgamates all the known knowledge out there that the engine has been exposed to. So when you type in a question, it gives you an amalgamation of all the stuff that it's collected, less so than wisdom of the crowds tells you just what other people are looking at and thinking or reading or watching. And if you train the AI engine on incorrect information, it doesn't know any better. And in fact, Michael Cohen used an AI engine. I just heard about this last week. And it generated quotes from other legal briefs and decisions, which he used to submit to the judge. Actually, he gave it to his attorney, who didn't bother to check it. And they were submitted verbatim, and the judge did something and found out that they were all fake. And he had to apologize to the judge on that basis.
Double check AI's work, folks.
Yeah. And if you go to Bard, or I forget the name of the one that Microsoft uses, which is a character in your Skype, I put in my name, and it came back and said I worked at Sun Microsystems. I haven't. I used to sell Sun workstation computers, and it had 2 or 3 other things like that it got wrong. I put in my former business partner's name, who previously was the Apple II product manager when I was the Apple III product manager. And it came back with things like he went to MIT. The guy never got a college education.
I wonder, I got to look at what it says about me.
So about a third of his AI-generated bio was wrong. But on the other hand, I was asked to give a speech at the International Software Product Management Association's conference a few months ago that they held in Berkeley. And I was to talk about how AI can be used in product management. So I wrote the speech, and then I thought, I'll ask Bard. So I said, Bard, give me a speech script for how artificial intelligence could be used by a product manager. And it came back with almost 80% of what I had already written. Now, if I'd done that first, I could have saved some time.
True.
And one of the things I plan to do in the future, after I get a couple of other books done, is I have a little pamphlet that Wiley published on the foundations of product management. It and my other book, Building and Sailing Great Products, are all on Amazon. So if you just go to Amazon and search for my name, those books will pop up.
Oh, I'll have all of that in the show notes too, because you have some amazing books. I mean, amazing.
Yeah, it's a 796-page book that covers the entire field of product management and product marketing. And I've come across a little AI video generator. And I used to be in the video production business. I owned the Avid dealership for Northern California in the mid-90s. Oh, wow. And trained about half the post-production houses in Northern California how to switch from linear editing, which is tape, to random editing, disk-based editing, which is Avid. But this little AI program, I can just take the text from one of those chapters, put it into it, and it will go out and create the entire video.
Yeah.
And I did that just for a little promo video for my company, Spice Catalyst. It took me about 15 minutes to put together a 2-3 minute video. I didn't have to go look for images. And it can even go to the point that it will take your voice and do an artificial intelligence rendering of your voice, which sounds almost exactly like me.
Oh, we DeepMind. So we're working with DeepMind on a project right now. Oh my gosh, Oculus, which the creators of Oculus, we're working on a project, an education software for the metaverse. And I know what you're talking about. Like, my avatar is far better looking than I am. I'm like, well, hey, what's going on? I mean, and then my partner Jessica, like hers, I'm looking up, I'm like, man, I gotta fight off guys. I gotta fight off guys in real life now with the metaverse too. You're too good looking. It's just it's amazing what we can do right now. It's so cool.
I'll give you a recommendation for a product to develop for Oculus or Provision or any of the virtual reality things.
Yeah.
And I don't know why anybody hasn't done this kind of thing first. You can go to Google Maps, and then you can drop the character down on a street. Mm-hmm. And then you can move along that street. So put all that together and turn it into 3D, and so that you can travel to Rome and walk around Rome and explore Rome from your easy chair.
That's so cool.
One of the companies I sold several Avids to in the mid-90s was over in the East Bay area, and they did travel videos. And their number one customer was senior citizens' homes and senior citizens, because those folks can't travel anymore,
right?
Or can't travel a lot, and they'll sit there and watch these things, all day long. But to be able to see it and feel it in 3D, and there is a company, an educational company specifically, that will sell an entire system, the goggles and the trips and stuff, to senior citizens' homes. But that's limiting. I think it should be, on the market, just like Netflix.
Sure. Oh, I think that's coming. I really do. I've never been so excited for, I know there's all of the, the rumors of chaos, the perceived chaos, the chaos that we know about. There's a lot going on in the world that a lot of people could say, well, God, this is the end. But I'm seeing it going, I'm never been more excited for the future in my life. Like, I know change is going to be hard for people, but I started preparing a long time ago, because I really believe that we're heading into a world where a lot of people that have been held down, suppressed, not given an opportunity, I believe that there is a really, really opportune time for everyone if they're willing to seize it and take advantage of it. Like, in other words, the days of, I don't have the money to do that, I think that's gone. Because so much of what we need is available for free right now.
Well, I hope, though, we develop some guidelines for AI. For example, I was listening to a radio show the other day, and they were talking about AI. We didn't let cars go out of the road without some guidelines. Like you had to have someone with a lantern walk in front of it before eventually people felt it was safe enough to let it go down the street, run into people.
Yeah.
You need guidelines and guide rails. And I think the Biden administration has done a good job pulling together the beginnings of that. And the Senate Democrats have also been, through one of the committees there, is working on some rules and regulations and some laws that govern artificial intelligence.
Do you think it's too late, though?
It's never too late.
Fair point. It's better than throwing up your hands and saying, well, I guess we're doomed now.
Yeah.
So fair point.
I think we need guidelines for social media. I don't think anybody should have the opportunity to post anything unless they are a verified human being.
Okay. Hold on. We got to stop there for a second. I am not, for the record, I'm not a liberal, but I'm not a conservative either. And I'm not a libertarian. I don't like any of them. So I want to get that part out. But this topic that you just brought up is widely considered, well, they want mass censorship. Like this is a liberal concept. Bullshit. This matters. And let me tell, so I want you to expand on what you're saying, but I absolutely agree with you on this. I show my face. I'm on Twitter. I'm transparent. I'm honest, or X. But there's something about watching other people harass, mock, spread lies, slander, attack, spread bullshit, misinformation just to do it, all behind a meme, all behind a weird name. You're not standing behind what you're saying. You're just some random thing out there pumping out information, and it's causing psychological warfare. It's causing depression. It's causing a lot of other issues. And on top of that, it's teaching people how to be pussies. And pardon my French, but it's real easy to talk tough and say harassing things about someone you may not agree with their beliefs, or you may look at the trans community as, but whatever people say negatively, like that, it's easy to point and make fun of and harass behind no identity. But say that with your name that you've been verified behind, it changes things. Are you really willing to be a racist asshole when it's your face and your coworkers and everyone else can see it? So I completely align with what you're saying on this. Please continue, sir.
Well, Facebook does not verify who the people are on Facebook.
Right.
As a result of that, and Twitter, for the most part, does not.
It needs to change.
Instagram does not. I don't know anything about TikTok, but I don't think they verify.
No.
So as a result of that, the Russians during the 2016 election invented thousands of fake Facebook profiles and Twitter accounts, and they would place a story like in Sputnik News, which is one of the Russian propaganda newspapers, which would then be tweeted by one of the Kremlin's bots, and then it would be picked up and retweeted by thousands of other Kremlin bots, which would then be picked up by the news, which would then get retweeted. So, like they say, a rumor can make its way around the world before the truth gets its shoes on.
True.
And it's all being driven by these bots and these algorithms to get as much clickbait as possible and as much exposure as possible. And people tend to believe some of these rumors. Like he's not a doctor, he's the chief medical officer for the state of Florida, is repeating a rumor today. This is January 4th, 2024, that the cause of death from COVID was the vaccine. that the vaccine caused people to die.
Huh? Who said this?
The what do you call it? The Surgeon General of the state of Florida.
So the Surgeon General is telling
Florida.
people that the vaccine is causing deaths.
Yeah. Which is
so can I ask you something? Why, again, and I don't pretend to know any absolute truth, so my questions are not being a smartass, but why there's other Surgeon Generals that have different opinions. Why would this Surgeon General say this if he didn't believe it was true? What do you think that's about?
it's owning the libs.
Oh.
It's their campaign to own people that they consider liberal, and they want to own the libs. And DeSantis is the one that wants to wonk is in Florida is where wonk comes to die, is one of the things that he's been saying on the campaign trail. And this is part of owning the libs. They celebrated recently, Governor Newsom told a church in California that they can't have mass gatherings during COVID because that's what causes the virus to spread, people breathing on each other. And that's why the medical doctors, after the research was done, they found that the virus is spread through the air, not necessarily from touch, that we had the mask mandates and banned mass gatherings. Well, the 25 million evangelicals who are hell-bent on the what's the thing, the end of the world coming, I forget the word that they use, the rapture, don't like being told what to do. So think that the banning of going to church was a war on the church rather than a health directive. So it's those kinds of things that are all wrapped up in an enigma.
I want to ask you a question, because, and again, I don't align with any side. I make my own mind. That's just how I live. I'm a little bit different. I don't subscribe to any belief system other than what is mine. But is it weird to you that liquor stores were allowed to be open, but churches were shut down? Like, I know that that's not a real apples to apples comparison. However, if I can go in to Target, to Walmart, to the liquor store, no issue, but I'm using a mask, I'm using precaution, I'm using all those things that the CDC has asked me to do to go into that liquor store, to go buy groceries. Why couldn't the same thing happen in a church?
But what was the difference is, if you go into a liquor store, and I didn't go to liquor stores during COVID, but if I remember I wanted to go to an Arby's restaurant, they only allowed one person in at a time. There was no crowd. Okay. The difference is in the church, at a mass, there's a crowd there. Now, if you could go in and pray one at a time, it would be the same.
Well, you wouldn't have to do one at a time, because churches, with the building size would be different than a liquor store. Of course, then again, I've seen some liquor stores bigger than churches, so that may not be an accurate thing. I was just curious what your thoughts are on that. Here's the problem. There's so much misinformation, and I think you know this from the product side of things, that not everything is on the up and up about product development. And when someone gets FDA approval or authorization, like, it can be a little shady. Like, I've seen double-blind placebo controlled studies that were not exactly authentic. I saw it happen a lot in skincare, and I've seen it happen in the supplement drug industry as well. And so it's hard for me, from my standpoint, where the reason why I won't stand up and say, screw the unvaccinated or screw the vaccinated, or have any strong opinion that way anymore, it's because simply I don't really know what's absolutely true, because the people I've looked to in my life for truth have all turned out to be lying assholes. So I don't trust my government. I don't trust the FDA. I don't trust my own doctor at this point because, well, I don't know who's being honest and who's not. And that's a bad place to be as a human being, I think, except for the fact that now I'm just going to make my own decisions. And if there's consequences for the decision I make, well, then there's consequences and I get to deal with it. But I don't know any absolute truths.
One of the courses I had at Michigan, there was a section of it called the ethics of persuasion.
Mm-hmm.
So when I hear a statement from somebody,
Mm-hmm.
I first look to see if they have some expertise in that area.
Fair.
And then I also look to see if they are being unduly influenced by something, like they're going to make money off of whatever it is they happen to say, or they're going to get social media coverage by being outrageous. Like the other day, Aaron Rodgers went on a podcast that ESPN just acquired and accused Jimmy Kimmel of being an associate of Jeffrey Epstein.
He is, though. It's on the list that's been released. It's all over. Like, I have it. Are you saying those documents are fake?
I don't know about the documents.
Oh, okay, because they're on the documents. Here's the
Kimmel's listed on there.
Yeah, Kimmel's listed on there, and it's clear as day. It's so obvious. So is Donald Trump, for the record.
Oh yeah.
But so is Biden's not on there. Bill Clinton's on there.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people that we watch every day on the news and TV shows. They're on there, but Jimmy Kimmel is on there.
Yeah, I was looking at those papers today. They just came out, I think last night.
They've been out for years. Everyone. That's the thing. They've been out for years.
Released, though.
No,
what you just described was rumored previously, but the actual papers haven't come out with any list yet.
Sir, with all due respect, I'm in the shadow. I've worked in the shadow world most of my life in a lot of different ways. Those documents have been out for a long time on the dark web, and it's that Jimmy Kimmel's name has been out for years. And so why people are acting like some of this is new, like Prince Andrew, that shit has been out for several years, and people that know how to do research all saw that. So we don't need to argue about that, but I understand. Go ahead and finish your point, what you were saying about Aaron Rodgers and on the Pat McAfee show. Go ahead and expand on that.
Well, he's basing his statements upon the information that you just described. But the papers that were released last night were court documents, transcripts and stuff that had been redacted previously or had not yet been released. There's almost 1,000 pages were released last night. So we don't know for sure if some of those rumors that may or may not be on the dark web were actually accurate, and or some of it could have been invented.
Yeah, there's Trump supporters that are saying that some of it's made up now, of course. And I'm not. I'm friends with people from all sides of every aisle because I just don't really align. And I don't know anything to be absolute true. So it's a much more comfortable spot for me because my belief system doesn't get disrupted like it used to. But that's the thing too, is that nowadays, and you know this is better than anybody, we can all be looking at a piece of information that looks so real, like it's the gospel or something, and then come to find out it's just been redone by AI and Photoshop and everything else. It's like, how do you know? But we're going to get off in a really different area that would actually be a lot of fun to talk about with you. But for the sake of time, I would like to wrap this up because, again, you're somebody that I have so much respect for. Your qualifications, your background, your knowledge, your wisdom is so important. Your website is an absolute gold mine for people who are looking to launch a successful product. But also, if you're in media, you're independent media, I'm telling you, this is the plug. This is the missing piece that you've been looking for. So, Mr. Fradin, would you please take these last moments to share anything that's on your heart, say anything that you feel led to say, and please plug anything and everything you want to plug.
Well, I think the key is for us to have more successful products and more successful services. So follow the SPICE mnemonic and make sure that you have those 5 things done before you start the product development, not while and not after.
Agree with that. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, please now plug how people can find your books, plug your website, plug all that, please.
Yeah, just go to my website, www.spicecatalyst.com, one word, and or go to Amazon and just Google my name, which I think you can see up on the screen. I mean, not Google it, do an Amazon search for it, and it will come up. And my books are there.
Yeah.
And one of them is published by Wiley, which is the 796-page pamphlet. Another one is Building and Sailing Great Products. And it was kind of interesting. I just got back from the Rose Bowl game, and the guy sitting next to me was a fellow by the name of Joe Scarborough of Morning Joe.
Yeah.
So we got to talking through the whole game, and I told him about how important values are. That not only did a study of Fortune 500 companies for my Building and Sailing Great Products book, and found that about 300 of them have gone out of business since that list was originally published in '65. And having raised money from many of those companies for my FAST organization, I knew whether or not they had values and or followed those values. And almost without exception, those that went out of business didn't have any values. And then I was telling Joe that I applied the same thing to my own personal life. I've been involved with about 25 organizations over the years. And those organizations that had values and followed their values, like HP and Apple, I thrived and I was very happy at. The other ones that didn't have values or did not follow their values, I was miserable at. And if I didn't quit and they fired me, that was a mercy killing. So I was telling a friend of mine who was my property manager for my Maui condo that I rent out in Maui, this, when he moved back to Northern California. And I said, make sure in your interviewing, when they're done asking you questions, you ask them, what is the values of this organization? And if those values don't map it to your values, run like hell. And he said he went on an interview and he started discussing values and talked with the hiring manager for 4 hours about values. They ended up hiring him, and he said he's been very, very happy there. So that's the thought I could leave with people, is that values are important.
I love that. And I would believe, I'd like your comments on this, but values help sustain the vision for the company, the brand, the product, the purpose, the man, the vision.
The combination of the vision for the company and the values is what's known as the mission statement.
Ooh, I didn't know
Vision
that.
plus values is the mission statement.
I learned even more today from you. Wow. Sir, I again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for just being transparent and authentic. That part of it matters to me a lot. And I appreciate that about you. I appreciate you willing to stand in your truth, but also share so much wisdom with us. So thank you very much. And I hope we can do this again sometime.
Sounds good. Glad to be with you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.